Hello again. So I've gone ahead and switched over to 2013 in case there are some things that you guys might have a little bit different since we're using both of them now. If you need to find more toolbars, you go to View Toolbars, and instead of having a flyout menu, it brings up a new item here. And so you'll just click on Large Tool Set. You can click on the Getting Started one again to make it go away. You're going to need some things in this tool set which aren't in the other one. You can also pull your toolbars around the screen to reposition them if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and also pull that back out, make it a little bigger, and then put it over to the side so that it won't get in the way. So we're going to do a few things to prepare our SketchUp model, to use some more tools in SketchUp to prepare our SketchUp model for layout, which will make it a lot easier when we get to layout. Now, one of the things we can do is this set of tools right here is also called you have standard. You'll want your standard views right there. Your camera tools, which are these guys, which also include these four little symbols we haven't used yet. I'm going to show them to you. And your section mark, your section toolbar, and the symbols that those offer you. So these are all very useful. And we're going to go ahead and leave it at that. I'm going to open my scenes and my layers panel. Now, what layers do is you can assign different things to be on different layers. And you notice right now I have a lot of different layers. I have layers for all those little things that I imported. Some of them came in with their own layers. But I went ahead and did is this layer down here, it says theater, and I made this one and I put the theater on it. And since our scenes capture, we talked about this in class, but they capture a lot of extra things. They also can't capture what layers are on, what layers are visible. If I choose to make one scene, one recorded moment, as my first one, and then I choose to turn my layer off for my second scene, it will be off. And I can turn it back on again. Now, in addition to your scenes appearing on this panel, they're also going to appear up here in tabs, so you can move back and forth. If your scenes, if you'd like to add a scene between two of them, you can go back to the scene. If I wanted to add a scene between scene 1 and scene 2 here, I would click on scene 1 and click the add button to add another scene. And that puts scene, as you can see, that puts scene 3 between scene 1 and 2. Right? I can also reorder them at any time. I can take scene 2 and say, hey, I want you to move up. Or actually, I do want you to move back down. Also, scene 3 and scene 1 right now look exactly the same. And I don't necessarily want that. So I'm going to take scene 3, I'm going to move it down to another view, and I'm going to click this button, which is Update. And update all of those things. So what this means is that, sorry about that, forgot to run that little guy down there so you can see what I'm doing. I'm mostly just clicking, but just in case. So I have scene 1 and now I have scene 3, and when I move from tab to tab, it's automatically going to put some animation in there. You can also use this little button that says include an animation. I can tell it I don't want this scene to be included in the animation. And you can see it's got parentheses on it now. So if I go over to the flyout menu and I say, oh, I'm sorry. If I go to export animation as a video, and I export this animation, it won't include the things that I've checked as not to include in the animation. And it will export and just give me the movement from scene 1 to scene 3. You can also, for those animated scenes, you can also use other techniques to get things to move around, such as these buttons over here. This is a position camera tool, and it's actually shaped like a person. That's got a little X. So if I tap right here and I click, I'm actually now standing in that position. And it'll put me exactly a person's height above where I want to be. So if I put a person right here, that'll put me at a person's height as if I was standing there. It also automatically changes to the look around tool, and when you click and hold, you're now looking around the room as if you're standing in this position. And you can add different scenes here in order to make your animation more genuine in exploring the space. This is useful if you're designing a set for television or movies. You can mock up a camera shot or a long walk sequence, and it's also useful for for existing models that are made for that same reason. So again, I now have an animation going from here to the fireplace, and then looking around. And if I were to export that as an animation, it would cycle through those at a consistent speed. If I wanted to slow that down, I would actually just add one in the middle. So if I think that's too fast, I'm actually gonna just move halfway and add another scene between them. So now when I do that, it's gonna move slower. It's a pretty rudimentary animation system, so you don't have as much choice as you might in other programs. But you can get a very nice looking animation going, right? So that's your little walk tools. These are our normal navigation tools. These are called your walkthrough tools, but one of the reasons is because you also have this these little feet, which allows you to walk. You'll notice in a second I'm going to fall off the stage. Ooh, I should probably walk back. So as you move your mouse, you're actually walking along the space. So if you hit these platforms, you're actually going to step up onto them and boop, boop. So we stepped up the platform. And so you can walk around a space. And again, you can add these as scenes to your animation to make it an animated movie. But you can also get a better idea of a set and the camera angles you can get by walking through them. What will be in my shot and what won't be in my shot, right? So those are those items. We also have, and the power of the scenes, you can also choose whether or not you can see hidden geometry or not, whether or not it holds the camera locations and the active section planes. All of those visible features can be held in your scenes. One of the ones you're going to want to make, a scene you're going to want to make, I'm going to zoom out. I think I just closed my toolbar. That probably wasn't a good idea. Here we go. One of the things that we're going to want to make is a section and a ground plan. And that's very similar to those draftings that we had at the beginning of this project. But as you can see, I can't really see what's going on. Now I can lower my scenes so that I can actually see, but I can't get what I'm looking for. But if I hit this top button over here, it's automatically going to center it. It's going to make me see it exactly from the top view, just like I can from the front, the side, and isometric looking at this by using these buttons. So I'm going to hit the top one, and I'm getting a really good shot of the top of the model, but it's still got perspective in it. So another thing you can do is go to Camera, Parallel Perspective, and that turns the perspective off in SketchUp. So now I want to add that as a scene to use later in layout. I don't want to add it twice, but I do want to add it at least once. Another thing I want to do is I don't want to be able to see all the wood. I don't want it to go away, because that would mean that don't have it in all my shots. But what I do want to do is open the style menu and go ahead and switch this to a new style. So I could do sketchy styles, do something like this, and as you can see, it's going to change what my entire set looks like. Well, let's go back to styles. Let's try straight lines. That looks pretty good. It looks pretty good when it transitions, and I think that is because, oh, I guess we could make it a blueprint. That doesn't look too bad. You can see right here on this cylinder that it's gray, and that's when we know that it's probably going to show us textures, and this one's white, so it's not going to show us textures. So I'm going to pick some style like that so that so it looks the way I want it to look. Now I'm going to update this scene and tell it that that's exactly what I want this scene to look like. So when I change from scene to scene, it's going to adjust the style as well. And it'll animate that style change, as you can see. So I want at least one section, the ground plan, without all the texture in the way. Now, the other thing I want to do is it is still a model. Now I've already put a section plane in here, but that's using that other menu that I opened. I'm going to close this menu right here. Now these two buttons here are kind of optional. This one is display the section cut, and this one's to display the section plane. You can see right there that that's the section plane I'm talking about. So I'm going to turn it on and go ahead and put a new one in. This is the section plane tool, and you hover it over a surface, so I can create a plane this way, a plane this way, a plane this way on any surface I choose. And if I zoom in, you can see I can also create one on the same angle as this French door if I want to. Whatever angle you want to make it on, you put it on a plane of that side, in that direction. And then you click to set it down. Now you can move it again with the move tool, and you can move it anywhere you like. And as you can see, it begins slicing away your model like a knife. And you can click this button here to show or unshow that cut. So I can pretend like it's not, I can show it to myself, and then I can click that button and pretend it's not there at all. The sections, there we have another one. There can only be one active at a time, so you need to make sure you can't display a whole bunch of cuts all at one time, but you can animate between several cuts. You can select these section planes just like a normal object, and you can cut through. So I can also add, this is a scene. I kind of don't want to see the planes though, so I'm going to turn that off and update this scene so that I don't see the section planes. I just see the actual cut or result. So I'm going to turn those planes back on, and then I'm going to change the active plane by selecting another one, and I can right click and say active cut. I can delete it just like it's an object, or I can double click on it to make it the active cut. So again, I'm going to shut off the view of my plane, and I'm going to add another scene with the section cut on it. And then I'm also going to go to View Toolbars, and I'm going to open my standard views again. And I'm going to look at it from the side. And if I'm looking at it straight on from the side, with the perspective turned off on parallel perspective, I'm going to get an exact sideways view of this particular moment. So once again, I can flip through my scenes and I can animate from a ground plan to a section cut back to a section cut from the side to a section cut directly to the side. I may not use these at the moment for a particular thing in my layout design, but I can use it later. These are some of the powerful aspects of SketchUp that will allow you to animate without actually having to do much work, as well as it will, I'm just going to delete that guy if I can't get him on the surface. He's silly. There we go. It allows you to do very fancy things. It allows you to save layers and states that you've already had. It allows you to make all sorts of style adjustments, color adjustments, and that kind of thing. If you prep all these scenes ahead of time, when you get into layout, you'll be able to reference any one of them at any time. And I'll see you there.